Hello students, welcome to the new class of Power Electronics and Drives. Today in this lecture, we will cover about thyristor, right? What is thyristor, what is its symbol, what are the applications that we can have using thyristor. You can see in Power Electronics and Drive subject that thyristor has a huge application. Different types of circuit, different types of converter can be designed using thyristor. So before we go in depth with the applications of thyristor, we need to know about thyristor. So in this video, we will cover about thyristor's properties. So these are the topics that we are going to cover today. Introduction, operating mode, very important from your semester point of view. Each and every year it will come as a question. It may come as a question like operating modes, or it may come as a question like VI characteristics of thyristor. Next, turn on methods, turn off methods, snubber circuit, again very important, and freewheeling diode. So, introduction. What is a thyristor? A thyristor is a 4-layer 3-junction device. It's a semiconductor device. 3 junctions are being made with P and PN. Here we can see the diagram of a thyristor where 4 types of semiconductors are sandwiched to construct a thyristor. The junction between first P and N is determined as junction 1. The next one is determined as junction 2, and the third one is denoted by junction 3. This is the symbol of thyristor, right? It's a diode whose negative part is being shown by this arrowhead, and this is the gate. Now, these 3 terminals are anode, cathode, and gate. The positive terminal is denoted as anode, the negative terminal is denoted as cathode, and the third one is denoted as gate. Thyristors are solid state device, so they are compact, possess high reliability, and have low loss. This is a unidirectional device. It can only conduct current in one direction. Now, operating modes or VI characteristic. Now, according to thyristor, it has 3 operating modes: reverse blocking mode, forward blocking mode, and forward conduction mode. After we get the total study, after we having the total 3 modes of operation, we can have these particular characteristics of SCR, right? So we will go one by one and we will see how this characteristics is being built. First is reverse blocking mode. See here in this type, the anode is generally connected with positive. We know the anode terminal as positive terminal, and for diode we have read about forward bias and reverse bias, right? In forward bias, positive terminal is getting connected with the positive plate of the battery, and negative terminal is getting connected with the negative plate. And if we vice versa the connection, that will be reverse bias. And the same concept is being used here in reverse blocking mode of SCR. Here, anode is connected with the negative of battery, and cathode is being connected with the positive of battery. What happens for this? Junction J1 and J3 becomes reverse biased. So no current flows in this mode. But look at junction J2. Since this is reverse by negative plate and this is connected to positive, junction J2 becomes forward biased. So for this reason, a minimum amount of current flows through the thyristor. In this state, in reverse bias condition, only reverse saturation current flows, as in the case of reverse bias diode, which is shown in the characteristic curve. We will show that. The device also exhibits the reverse breakdown phenomena beyond the reverse safe voltage limit, just like a diode. Just look at the diagram. Yeah. Here we can see the reverse characteristics. This is the reverse characteristics that current flows because of the forward biasing of junction J2. But after this point, if we increase again the reverse voltage, there will occur a reverse breakdown. So this is the reverse blocking mode characteristics of thyristor. Forward blocking mode. As the name implies, forward. So anode is getting connected to positive and cathode is getting connected to negative. As a result, junction J1 and J3 both becomes forward bias. But since we are not giving any connection to the gate in this particular mode, gate is kept open. So for that part, junction J2 will be reverse biased, and at the same time result, no current will flow. A minimum amount of leakage current will flow through the circuit, that is again known as saturation. Let me show you the characteristics. So here is the forward blocking mode current. This blue line is the forward blocking mode current. Okay. And yes, this is forward conduction mode. Here what happens? Anode is getting connected with positive, cathode is connected with negative, and gate terminal is connected with the positive voltage. So we can have the characteristics, forward characteristics. This is the forward characteristics. So this total part is the VI characteristics of SCR. If a question comes like write different operating modes of SCR, we have to explain the three modes and then we have to draw these characteristics. If a question comes like explain VI characteristics of SCR, again we have to explain three operating modes and then we have to draw the characteristics. For both the cases, the whole part we have to explain and draw. Yes, again, a very important part, holding current and latching current. Now what is holding current? Let me first explain it to you, then I will show it in the diagram. Holding current, it is defined as the minimum anode current beyond which the SCR will turn off. The holding current is associated with turned off process. It's always less than the latching current. Now what is latching current? It's defined as the minimum anode current required keeping turned on SCR after removing the signal. Gate signal, obviously. The latching current is associated with turned on process. The value of latching current is approximately 2 to 3 times to that of holding current. The value of holding current and latching current is constant and it does not depend on gate current magnitude. So let me show you the diagram of holding current and latching current. Yeah. So this part, this dotted line, it reveals holding current, and this dotted line from which they have shown you forward breakover voltage. This part, if we draw a horizontal line from this point, it will be, after that it will be latching current. So this part is the holding current and this part is the latching current. Next, turn on methods of thyristor. What is the difference between a thyristor and a diode? A diode is an unidirectional device, a thyristor is a unidirectional device, right? The symbol of diode and thyristor is almost same except the third terminal, that is gate terminal. Now, why should we use thyristor over diode? What are the advantages of thyristor over diode? A diode is an uncontrolled device. We cannot control turn on and turn off process of diode. We just connect the diode in forward bias or reverse bias mode. After that, current will flow accordingly. But in thyristor, we can control its turn on and turn off process. And to control the turn on and turn off process, that third terminal, gate terminal, is being used. So these are some methods. We have also another method, but these are the mostly used methods to turn on a thyristor: voltage triggering, gate triggering, and DVDT triggering. Now, what is voltage triggering? One of the commonly used SCR turn-on methods is by increasing the forward anode to cathode voltage. By doing this, the depletion layer width is also increasing at junction J2. This also causes to increase the minority charge carriers, accelerating voltage at junction J2. This further leads to an avalanche breakdown at the junction J2 at a forward breakover voltage VBO. At this stage, SCR turns into conduction mode and hence a large current flow through it with a low voltage drop across it. During the turn-on state, the voltage drop across the SCR is in the range of 1 to 1.5 volt, and this may be increased with the load current. In practice, this method is not employed because it needs a very large anode to cathode voltage, and also once the voltage is more than the forward breakover voltage, it generates very high current, which may cause damage to the SCR. Therefore, most of the cases, this type of triggering is avoided. So, in this method, since we are applying a high amount of voltage between anode and cathode terminal, this may cause a high loss of minority carriers to forward bias junction J1 and J3. So this method is not used or not employed in industrial purpose. Next is gate triggering. This is the most common and efficient method to turn on the SCR. When SCR is forward biased, a sufficient voltage at the gate terminal injects some electron into the junction. That we have seen the diagram for forward conduction mode. This results to increase reverse leakage current and hence the breakdown of junction J2 even at the voltage lower than breakover voltage. So with a very small voltage, lower than forward breakover voltage, we can turn on the thyristor. Depend on the size, the gate current varies from few milliampere to 200 milliampere. If the gate current applied is more, then the more electrons are injected. In gate triggering mode, a positive voltage applied between gate and cathode terminal. We can use these three types of gate signal to turn on the SCR. Those are DC signal, AC signal, and pulse signal. So any type of signal can be used to turn on the gate triggering mode. Next is DVDT triggering. In forward blocking state, junction J1 and J3 are forward biased and J2 is reverse biased. So junction J2 behaves as a capacitor due to the space charge in the depletion region. The charging current of the capacitor is given as I equal to C dVdt, that is the current across any capacitor. Now from the above equation, if the rate of change of the applied voltage is large, that leads to increase the charging current, which is enough to increase the value of alpha. So the SCR becomes turned on. But this method is also practically avoided because it's a false turn on process and this can produce very high voltage spike. This is not suitable in terms of protection of thyristor. Now, as I have already said, thyristor is also an off control device. So different turn off methods of thyristors are current reduction, AC line commutation and force commutation. AC line commutation is also known as natural commutation. Now, what is current reduction? If we can decrease anode current, if we can decrease the voltage applied so that anode current gets decreases, the thyristor will automatically turned off. So this is the process of current reduction. Now, what is commutation? The process of turning off SCR is defined as commutation, right? So commutation can be of different types. One is natural commutation, another is forced commutation. What are the properties of natural commutation? In AC circuit, the current always passes through zero. For every half cycle, there is a zero line in alternating curve and current passes through that zero line. As the current passes through natural zero, a reverse voltage will simultaneously appear across the device. This will turn off the device immediately. This process is called as natural commutation since no external circuit is required for this purpose. It is also known as line commutation. AC voltage controller or phase voltage controller are the example of natural commutation that we will read in our next modules. Now, forced commutation. Whenever we are using any external devices to turn off the thyristor, that comes under forced commutation. The forward anode current should be brought to zero to turn off a thyristor. So, for sufficient time to allow the removal of charge carriers. In case of DC circuit, the forward current should be forced to zero by means of some external circuits. Now, very important part, snubber circuit. So, what is snubber circuit? It's a protecting device for thyristor. We use this snubber circuit for DVDT protection, rate of change of voltage protection. As we have already said that we don't use DVDT triggering for turning on of thyristor, right? So DVDT triggering or DVDT protection itself is a requirement to protect thyristor against spikes. So this protection against high voltage reverse recovery transient and DVDT is achieved by using an RC snubber circuit. This snubber circuit consists of a series combination of capacitor and resistor which is connected across the SCR. This also consists an inductance in series with the SCR to prevent the high DIDT. The resistance value is a few hundred ohms. So this series combination of resistor and capacitor which is connected in parallel with the SCR, this particular circuit is known as snubber circuit. When the switch is closed, a sudden voltage appears across the SCR which is bypassed to the RC network. This is because capacitor acts as a short circuit which reduces the voltage across the SCR to zero. As the time increases, voltage across the capacitor builds up at slow rate such that DVDT across the capacitor is too small to turn on the SCR. Therefore, the DVDT across the SCR and the capacitor is less than the maximum DVDT rating. Normally, the capacitor is charged to a voltage equal to the maximum supply voltage, which is forward blocking voltage of SCR. If the SCR is turned on, the capacitor starts discharging, which causes a high current to flow through the SCR. Next, the last part but very important part, freewheeling diode. Freewheeling diode is used to protect the circuit from unusual cause due to the abrupt reduction in the current flowing through the circuit. It's also known as flyback diode and forms connection across the inductor to remove flyback voltage generated across it. Now, what is freewheeling diode? What is the special connection that must the diode have to named it as freewheeling. See here in this circuit, a diode is being used with a load RL. Now another diode is connected in parallel with this load, and this particular diode is called freewheeling diode. Right? Now what is the operation of this diode? When this diode is in forward bias, current flows through this part, and since this diode is in reverse bias in terms of this battery, so it's kept open, right? So current flows through R and L. Now the property of inductor is to store energy of half Li square. At the same time, it has a property to resist the change in direction of current flow. So initially the potential or polarity of inductor is upward is positive, lower is negative. Now when this switch is kept open, so no voltage comes from source, but there is a power energy stored in inductor which needs to be getting dissipated. So to dissipate the stored energy of the inductor, what happens? It changes its polarity. See, previously the polarity was upward positive, downward negative, but now the polarity becomes this is negative and lower one is positive. And as a result, this diode, for every diode becomes forward bias, and the stored energy free will through this diode. So to dissipate the energy stored in load inductor, we always use a diode in parallel with the inductor load, and that particular diode allows to freewheel the energy stored in the inductor. Since it freewheels the energy, this type of connection which a diode is getting connected is known as freewheeling diode. So my dear students, here in this video, you have read different types of topics. Like first you have read about thyristor, its VI characteristics, its operating mode. Then you have studied what are the turn-on methods, what are the advantage, disadvantage of different turn-on methods. Next you've gone through with turn-off methods, and two individual special circuit you have read about. One is Naber circuit and another is freewheeling diode. This total video, this total part is important for your semester point of view. Each and every part comes in exam. So go through this video more than once, and if you feel any difficulties, you can give that, you can write that in the comment section. I will definitely solve it. And if you like this video, like and subscribe my channel. So thank you once again for seeing this video. Thank you so much.